Hello there, mudroomers. It is Carmen here with Mako, and today we're going to go over our glaze profile for the stoneware glaze, Green Opal. Green Opal is a vibrant green gloss glaze. This is a semi-translucent glaze, and it will build up an opalescent variation with a thicker application. A little bit of information on the label here. Here we're showcasing our Cone 6 fired results on a white stoneware body. We do state that this glaze can be fired from Cone 5 to 10. There should be a reasonable consideration for variation with this different firing range, in addition to if you're applying it on a different clay body or anything like that, which is what we're going to be going over today. Some key information on the label here. We have our ACMI seal, dinnerware safe information, as well as our lot number, which you'll need if you're reporting anything to technical. These icons are available on our website as well. So if you have an older label or you're not sure if this is the most up-to-date information, we do recommend checking our website for the correct icons and classifications. And then here we just have general Cone 6, Cone 10 firing results, application instructions, and then any suggestions and tips for application. So definitely utilize this label as a resource for information, please. Give it a good read. And if you want more information, check out our website. So first, I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick little application demo. Our Green Opal glaze goes on really easy. There's nothing super special about the application, but I would like to showcase just how to apply a normal 3 coats of glaze, just so everybody can see it happen. So here I'm using a number 4 soft fan. This is a natural fiber fan brush, and I emphasize the natural fiber because that's how you get this brush to really plump up with material. And that's what we're doing here. We're building material on the surface of our pieces. We're not just trying to cover it, we're building it up. So my first coat, you see it's going on nice and smooth. I'm not dragging. If it's dragging, you hear it, you're gonna wanna go ahead and put more glaze on your brush. You really want to spread this around like peanut butter on bread. You know, if your peanut butter gets a little bit thin, you start tearing that bread. So we don't want to tear any bread here. We want this to go on nice and heavy. See, the first coat is starting to dry, but it is taking a moment. So if it's drying instantly, that either means you're putting it on really thin, or perhaps your bisque was fired really low, so it absorbs that moisture really fast. But in general, you do want this to take a couple seconds to start drying. So I'll go ahead and set that to the side here. And then we'll check out our Cone 6 results with Green Opal. So here we've got 1, 2, and 3 coats. You can see the color saturation builds up with more coats, as well as here's that opalescent variation that I was talking about. At 3 coats, we start to get it on the flat area, but it always showcases itself in that texture. This glaze, as you can see, it highlights texture very well. And as I said previously, it is semi-translucent, so this is actually showcasing the clay body underneath here. If I did want to do design work underneath here, it could show up, but you might get a little bit of distortion because it's semi-translucent, so you are going to have like this opalescent variation, won't be totally transparent, and then you could get sag depending on how heavy your glaze is applied. So do some testing if you do want to do decoration underneath. It's definitely a good thing to consider because this would work really well for that. And on the back here, we've got it on a nice flat surface. You can see that opalescent variation showcasing itself on top of that beautiful, vibrant green base here. So this is just 3 coats applied and fired to Cone 6. Here we've got our Cone 5 results. So not a super different performance, honestly. We still have a nice finish at Cone 5, a vibrant color. We get the opalescent variation. This does look generally a bit darker, so this opalescentness that happens here, it's a little bit whiter than it is here. So that's pretty much the main distinction that I see between the two here. On the back here again, like the front of this tile here, it is a little bit darker for the most part, but otherwise it's performing pretty much the same. You still get that nice variation that it showcases itself here, and then that really vibrant green color. So that's cone 6 and cone 5. Check in on our tile here. This is nice and dry, so we can go ahead and apply our second coat of glaze, really loading that brush up. As long as a glaze isn't super mobile, I really like to just like put more glaze on and then kind of like spread it out and make it even, rather than being conservative with these brush strokes. If you really like these colors and you like variation with your application or with your results, you definitely need to be putting these products on nice and thick. If you're worried about mobility, we definitely always recommend to test, just like how we're testing here, doing 1, 2, and 3 coats, and then having 3 coats, or even just testing at 1, 2, and 3 coats on a vertical surface to showcase how mobile a product is with your hand in your environment, because there is going to be variation with any of this. We're doing this to try to give you a general understanding of the spectrum of a product's performance, but that doesn't mean your results are going to look exactly like this. So always do testing. I highly recommend doing 1, 2, and 3 coat testing on a vertical surface using your clay body, so you can help troubleshoot for yourself. Then you can know, oh, I applied it a little bit thin. Oh, this glaze doesn't like this clay body. Oh, I don't like doing this combination with this glaze, or anything like that. So definitely do the testing. And then next we have our cone 10 results. So here we've got cone 6 and cone 10. So you can see the cone 10, this is cone 10 reduction. It got a bit darker. This clay body did get reduced in the firing. So the darker foundation that it's been on, so this clay body being darker darkens it, but this color is a bit darker too. It kind of feels like that yellow that was in there kind of got fired out, and we're sort of left with just the remaining green pigment, but we're still getting opalescent variation. It breaks really well over texture. Some really nice soft green color though. I really like that there. All right, so next we have our cone 6 results with flux. So here we're showcasing 2 coats of flux underneath 3 coats of green opal. So we did about an inch band of our light flux and our dark flux. Put the green opal on top of that, and you see we do get a decent amount of mobility because green opal, it's a nice breaking glaze. It can be mobile in certain circumstances. It's not going to be very stiff, but generally it is a stable glaze. So the glazes that fit into this category are really nice for fluxes because they will produce mobility, but they're not going to run off of your piece. So any glaze that breaks over texture is kind of a good tell for glazes that would perform in this way. And on the back here, we have our flux applied over the green opal. So we applied 3 coats of green opal to the entire tile, 2 coats of light flux, 2 coats of dark flux, and we get our mobility here. So you can see here we're getting a little bit more interaction with that base glaze when you apply the flux underneath it, which makes sense. This is kind of just the flux moving down on the surface here. And then next we have it at cone 10. So we've got the flux over green opal at cone 10, and then flux over green opal at cone 6. You can see there's a bit more interaction that's happening here. I love this kind of feathering that happens when the glaze melts down. You still have that darker or less vibrant green color, but ultimately I really like especially how this white flux interacts here. It's really nice. All right. right, so looks like our tile is still drying a bit. If I was in a rush, I could slap another coat on here and feel pretty okay about it. But since we've got the time, I am going to wait and do proper 3 coats. All right, so next we have it on our alternative clay bodies. So all of our samples are shown on a white stoneware body unless otherwise notified. So we want to show you the performance on different clay bodies. All of our alternative clay body testing, we do fire to cone 6 with a 10-minute hold, and that is to alleviate any possible surface issues that might come up. A lot of the time you'll get pinholes from outgassing of different raw materials in these different clay bodies. We found that generally adding a 10-minute hold really helps with this. So that's why we fire all of them in this manner. So the Green Opal plays really well with different clay bodies. You can see, obviously you can see the clay body through here, and then you get this lovely speckling. It breaks well over texture, and we don't have really any surface issues here. So the white speckled checks out well. And then here we've got the brown speckled. Still good on the surface issues. No surface issues here. You see the dark clay coming through, and then the speckling as well. So this looks really good on the dark, or on the brown speckled clay. Builds up over the texture. And then here we've got it showcased on a dark brown clay. Still a nice, smooth, glossy finish. It breaks well over texture and builds up really nice in the deep spots of the texture here. So Green Opal is a great one to use on different clays. And actually, speaking to that, all of our opals perform very similar to this in the sense of how they work on different clay bodies, how they work in combination, and their breaking over texture as well as their opalescent features. So that would be SW-250 through 255. This will be our opals glaze performance grouping. Again, our glaze performance groupings can be found in the comprehensive stoneware guide on our website. It's a really good resource for trying to get your head wrapped around different stoneware glazes that we manufacture and their performance. So definitely check that out. We have the groupings as well as just general performance tips for all of the glazes in our stoneware glaze line. So here we've got our tile. This is looking much drier now, so I'll go ahead and apply my 3rd coat here. Have my brush nice and plump here. We're just doing the one little swipe on here. It's probably a little bit thicker than I want it to be, so I'm going to, get some of that glaze off my brush and then kind of even it out. So here we go. Great. So we've got 3 coats, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 on the back. And when we fire that to cone 6, it will look just like this guy. So that's general application for this product. And then finally, let's check out the results that we have using Green Opal in combination. So in combination here, so Green Opal, like I said, it breaks over texture. It can produce mobility when it's used in combination, in particular if it's glaze or if it's applied with another glaze that has the potential to produce mobility. If it's applied with a stiff glaze, it's not really going to produce much mobility. So here we have oyster over Green Opal. So I love this combination. It's super cool that it makes it purple, and especially this nice deep purple of all things. So we applied 2 coats of Green Opal to the whole thing, and then 2 coats of oyster down to this band here. Oyster is another glaze that breaks well over texture, so you can see you get a nice sag from these 2 glazes being layered together, when generally if either of these were used on their own, even with 3 coats, you probably wouldn't have this kind of mobility. It's just because they're used in combination here. And then next we have Aurora Green over Green Opal. This is one of my favorite combinations to use. I love butting it up against our black matte glaze. This, when it moves down, so I like to use the black matte as almost like a little buffer to allow this yumminess to happen. And so when that melts down over the black matte, you get this beautiful, beautiful, deep, vibrant blue color. So I love this turquoise butting up against that and this really, really nice, rich blue. It's so, so pretty. And then the black complements the crystals here. So this mobility here is primarily because this is a really heavy crystal loading. Although if I had a lighter crystal loading, you would get some mobility, but not quite the amount that we're getting with this here. So again, this is Aurora Green applied over Green Opal. I stopped the Aurora Green here, so you can see this did move a decent amount. And then finally, we have the cenote applied over Green Opal. So again, I stopped the cenote here. This did move down a decent amount, and I love how the Green Opal really brightens up the base glaze of cenote here. It's really, really good. So if you like these glaze combinations that we're doing, check them out on our website. You can find it under the color tab. Click Glaze Combinations, and we have a full searchable glaze combination gallery that features cone 06, cone 6, and even cone 10 reduction combinations. So definitely look at that. It's wonderful. It's searchable. You can find glazes that you carry in your own studio, so definitely check that out. I think that is all that I have for you guys today. So thanks again for tuning in. As always, leave questions and concerns in the comments. And as always, make it Mako.